What a fantastic weekend of Packers football. The Packers prevailed over the Chargers, and we'll talk about what went so well for the team this week. We also have lots of feedback from all of you fine listeners, and don't forget, the Pack plays on Thanksgiving this year, so we'll pregame against the Lions on Turkey Day, complete with my own keys to a victory. All this and more coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Podcasting and voice acting since 2005. I'm Wayne Henderson. Thankful to be with you for another fun episode of Packers Talk, and I'm excited to have seen our Packers win the game despite only having one running back for most of it.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and boy, did I pick a good week to go to Lambeau. The weather was beautiful. I got to meet up with Captain Pack Sparrow himself, and we wound up with a W. Needless to say, I'm pretty high on life right now. On this 286th edition of the Packers Fan Podcast, we'll go over what we loved and maybe didn't from the huge win over the Chargers. Then it's time to highlight some excellent listener feedback.
And Scott and I will look ahead as our Packers head to Detroit to finally get our rematch with the Lions and try to seek some revenge off those folks. And thankfully, Scott, you mentioned you will have the keys to a Packers victory. So I'm ready with the dub.
Absolutely. Let's start with the good stuff. What do you say, Wayne?
Yes.
Highlights from the Packers' victory over the Chargers. Starting with the Packers' leaders in the Chargers game. Obviously, our leading passer was Mr. Jordan Love. 27 for 40 this time around for 322 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. This was Love's first game over 300 yards, which was really awesome to be able to be there for that in person. That was awesome. Would you believe our leading rusher was Jaden Reed?
Yes.
He had 3 carries for 46 yards and a touchdown. Our leading receiver was Dontavion Wicks, 3 receptions for 91 yards. And our defense, Jonathan Owens had the leading number of tackles, 8 tackles, 4 of which were solo. And I got to say, Wayne, the most interesting thing about our stats here, like with receiving and rushing, is we're talking about the lead person doing that. And it's 3 carries, 3 receptions. To me, that tells me that the Packers are not going to a go-to guy. They're going to go-to team members, which is the way that Packers win football. I love the ball being spread out. That's what they're doing. And lo and behold, they won the game.
Sounds like a formula to continue on. For sure. Some great stuff also happening on defense. It wasn't all perfect, but Rashawn Gary had a timely fumble recovery around the 5-yard line. The Chargers, who are supposed to be so great in the red zone, actually had a tough time at Lambeau Field this week, and, that's a shame. And Kenny Clark's dagger at the very end of the game to bat down that pass to secure victory. Just all sorts of good feels on defense, Scott.
Yes, absolutely. It was just really good to see the defense. I mean, they've been pretty strong for the past few weeks. Even with the losses, the defense has been looking pretty decent in that regard, especially the secondary. I was real happy with what I saw there. But that fumble recovery, because, I mean, we were just like, oh, can we at least hold them to a field goal? And then, like, the next play, pick up that ball, and then we're going the other direction. Oh, that was amazing. Just absolutely loved it. I also want to talk about those first 2 touchdown passes. That first one, which was behind the line of scrimmage pitch to Reed for 6, was a chef's kiss. I just think it was interesting seeing him getting the ball on running plays for great successes. It's just he's a receiver, and we're passing the ball or running the ball with him. There were some beautiful blocks, including a perfect one from Luke Musgrave that blazed a trail for him to make it all the way to the end zone. Absolutely amazing play to watch. The second one to Watson was so perfectly timed. I don't know. Well, obviously you saw it probably better than I did. You get to see the angle on TV, but there were 3 white jerseys in the vicinity, but it was just perfectly thrown in there. I don't want to say thread the needle because it still had some arc on it. And I was just really glad to see Watson get one this week, as he's been getting a lot of flack lately. Being called Mr. Glass and always injury prone and dropping key plays. But when he comes through and does something good like this, it puts him in my good graces, at least. How about you?
Definitely a heck of a catch. And I was nervous just because of his past history, but he pulled through. And let me ask you a question, since you were at the game. That touchdown run in from Reed, did he look as fast in person as he did to us watching on television.
Well, I mean, when you're watching in person, it always looks faster than it does on TV. It's like, wow, they really are booking. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy just how quick it is. But is that the picture that you shot me where he's got the face shield and you can see his face through it? Was that Reed?
I don't know if that was the actual play though, but that was a cool reflection that was posted online as well. But when he ran that in, I'm thinking, everybody's talking about how Watson is so fast, but Reed, that play was just incredible. Incredible for sure. And although the game did start out with a flag or two on the very first play, relatively, there weren't all that many penalties in this game. And that alone removed a lot of the frustrations and made it easier to enjoy the game.
I feel like a lot of them were in our favor this time around. There was a key pass interference that was for like 15 yards and gave us another 15. So those kinds of things are always great. But yes, very good to see that we're starting to click a little bit more. Home field advantage probably helps that a little bit as well. But no less laundry on the field is definitely a great thing for me. I do want to ask you though, because I could not see from where I was. I want to say it was like the first play of the game. Was somebody ejected? Like right at the beginning?
Not ejected. There was like two things happening and the refs had to get together and talk about it. I believe there was potentially a hold, which often happens on kickoffs as well as punt returns. But there was also some sort of, they called it unsportsmanlike conduct, bumping into a referee or something. And I didn't actually see it, but he was not ejected. But it was very strange, especially the very first play of the game. And after the history of our past 2 weeks of having a lot of penalties, I was getting nervous that, wow, the tone has already been set. But they shrugged it off and it went on from there. It was good.
Very cool. The other thing that I noticed that I thought was huge in this game is that we had no turnovers. Not a single turnover. This is the first time since week 2 that we did not fumble the ball or intercept the ball. And again, we won the game. So that may come up in my keys to victory. Just a little spoiler alert.
And even though the Chargers didn't have all that many turnovers, they did have at least one at a critical time. So things like that, the turnover battle, you help win the game. And one other super highlight was Wicks when he was running and it should have been a sure tackle against him. He just bounced out of the arms of a Charger, gained 30 yards. It was exciting. It was invigorating. And one of my favorite plays of the entire day. And adding to it was just, a couple plays later, Romeo Doubs gets a touchdown pass and, taking the lead and almost sealing victory at that particular point. But that series of downs, do you know the play I'm talking about where Wicks he should have been dead to rights tackled right there?
Yeah, I think even the announcer said something like, he's still going. He somehow breaks free. It's just, I love it when the announcers are saying things like that in our favor because I'm so used to some poor tackling on occasion. It's like, oh, why are you letting him through? How are you not tackling him? Finally, it's our turn. So that's a good thing.
Yes, and last week in your keys to the victory for this game, you did talk about the Chargers defense not exactly being up to snuff and take advantage of it. And I guess we did. So
somebody's listening.
Yes, indeed. And just some of the low lights that came out of the game, on our first drive, we were moving the ball and it seemed like we were doing pretty well, but then we had 3rd and 1, couldn't convert. 4th and 1, we couldn't convert. And I was kind of confused by the play calls because it didn't seem like the right kind of plays for 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and they didn't work. It just was a little bit frustrating because we were on a roll for a little bit there.
Well, I will tell you, Wayne, being at a game watching, as you know, is a little bit different than watching on TV. And I'm not saying this to rub it in, but I am definitely not.
Scott, rub it in. Rub it in. You were there and it was glorious.
No. My point is I'm not like taking meticulous notes like I usually do. I've got my pad of paper and pencil and I'm writing down this and that. I just sat and enjoyed the game with my wife and had some beverages. And so I'm not really paying as much attention to how many 3rd downs and 4th downs we have. I'm I'm just making friends all around me. I literally made a QR code of our podcast feed for Spotify and was like
Nice.
sharing it with everybody around, saying, "Hey, I got a Packers podcast. Check it out." So anybody sitting around me that took a screenshot of that, if you're listening, I love each and every one of you, and I had an absolute blast hanging out with you guys over in that section. So it's a good time.
Work it, Scott. Work it.
Yeah, dude. The other thing that was a bummer, especially after watching some of the highlights in preparation for this episode, was just it was very frustrating not being able to contain Keenan Allen.
Right.
He was just simply too elusive, and his yards after catch was what you were talking about earlier when Wicks was doing really well. It felt like Keenan Allen was just doing that all the time. There was a pass that Herbert had to him that was through 3 defenders. I don't know how that pass got through there. It was it was straight and to the point and quick. It's one of those, like, how did you let that slip through? How could you not stick an arm or something in there or breathe on it? You know what I mean? Because it was kind of nuts. But man, what a how frustrating that was. We were lucky that we were able to pull this one off.
Indeed. And unlike the good news from last week's game, this week, far too many new injuries. Aaron Jones getting injured again with his knee. Backup running back Emmanuel Wilson got us an excellent first down and continued the series, but then ended up leaving with a shoulder injury of sorts. Devondre Campbell left the game with an injury as well. It's kind of amazing that we won because we really only had one running back, a great one, A.J. Dillon, but when you're the only one and everybody knows what to look for, it's kind of hard. And, in the post-game press conference, Matt LaFleur did say that Aaron Jones's injury doesn't look like a long-term injury. So I'm thankful that it is not as bad as it appeared at first. And Jones was kind of walking fairly well after the game in the locker room and seemed to be in good spirits. So I'll take that as a huge positive.
Absolutely. The other negative thing I've got is Anders Carlson. He's kind of starting to make me a little bit nervous. I know, he's a rookie, right? He's a rookie kicker. I can't remember if this is his first season or not, but his first year with us. Not only did he miss a field goal, but he also missed an extra point, which, again, could I hit an extra point? Probably not, even without 11 guys trying to keep me from doing so. But, thankfully we didn't need either of them to win the game, but he's coming across as a bit less reliable as he was at the beginning of the season. I was really banking on him being perfect, and he's just getting further and further from perfect, and that makes me a little nervous. But I'm hoping it's just something to be chalked up to any given Sunday kind of situation.
And he is a rookie, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the season. We're past the midway point. Maybe it's starting to wear on him. But yeah, I missed the days when you were saying Anders Carlson is still perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we thought of the game. We wanted to find out what you guys thought about it as well. Dear listener, you have so many great insights, and we love it when you share them with everyone here on the Packers Fan Podcast. So we want you to sound off and let your voice be heard. Be part of the show by recording your voice on your phone or computer and email the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com or by calling the PFP voicemail at +1 920 3PACK-GO.
And as always, the deadline for your calls is Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, except, of course, in a couple of weeks when we play on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. But for regular games, Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, remember to include your best Go Pack Go for us to use as part of the new Packers Fan Podcast community intro that I'm building onto. We've got one in place, but we want to build it and make it even richer and more exotic. Heck, feel free to just send in an audio message with some great Go Pack Goes. We'll take them.
Hey, fellas. It is a happy Monday, and Mondays are so much better when the Packers win. I want to start by talking about Jordan Love. I'm not going to anoint him as, the next Rodgers or Favre, but he played his best game against a defense that might be, one of the worst for pass defense. But he had a great game, 322 yards, 27 for 40. I think he had 2 touchdowns, no picks, QB rating of 108.5, whatever that means. I think it's good. So I just thought he was clutch. He made some big boy throws. I mean, he made some passes that he hasn't made this year. His clutch pass to Dobbs for the game winner was the play of the year so far, I think. And I think Dobbs just showed what a competitor he was when he went up to get that ball. I think Mark Sanchez, the color commentator for Fox, said he violently attacked the ball, and that's what you have to do. So I think Dobbs already has 10 touchdowns in his career. So speaking of Dobbs, I think our whole receiving core, the whole group is so good, and they have a chance to be great in a couple of years. Jaden Reed led us in rushing, had a huge touchdown. You know, the dude also returns kicks and punts. Dontavian Wicks had that huge 35-yard catch where he, broke a couple tackles. Dobbs and Watson are good. Watson finally had a touchdown. Musgrave is going to be a beast. So I think you have to give credit to Brian Gutekunst for getting all these receivers in the second round or lower, because they're just making it a little easier for Jordan Love. So other positives, I thought LaFleur and his play calling, even without Jones, was excellent. He had 23 first downs. That's a season high. They were just moving the ball, and you could tell right early in the game that we could move the ball. And that's like 3 weeks in a row where I think our offense has finally settled in. Negatives, our special teams, specifically Anders Carlson, he just has to be better. He almost cost us another game with a missed extra point and missed field goal at the end of the half. So he has to be better. He's a young guy. Hopefully, he'll get over this and start kicking the ball better. Also, for negatives, I thought our secondary, they have to be better. There were just receivers wide open all over the field, and we were lucky that they dropped so many passes. But it was a great win. Now we're on to Detroit to play the Lions on Thanksgiving. We owe them one. It's going to be a tough game. Detroit's very physical. We're going to have to be, tough in the trenches. So thanks for the podcast. I love it. Listen to it every week. You guys do a great job, Scott and Wayne. And go Pack Go. Talk to you next week.
Hey, thanks so much, Mark. Did you hear that, Wayne? He said Scott and Wayne, not Wayne and Scott.
So good. I kind of like it. Mark, we enjoy hearing your voicemails every week as well.
Yeah, I agree. Mondays are great. I was actually off today.
Nice.
We've got the whole week off for the Thanksgiving holiday, so I did not get to sport my victory tie at work, but I was perfectly fine just wearing my Packer gear at home while I was doing some cleaning and getting some stuff done. So I'm with you, Mark. I'm embarrassed to say that I'm on a football podcast and I don't understand how passer rating works. Someday I'll sit down and look at that. I don't understand why everything's got to be a goofy scale, because to me 100 is perfect.
Right.
But passer ratings go over 100, so they're better than perfect, but that's not accurate. So I don't know. I just feel like there's it's my fault, my own ignorance for not understanding it, and I'll look it up. I'm sure someone will call in next week and explain it to us. But he did have some big boy throws this week. Totally beautifully timed passes. It made me feel like this is the Jordan Love that we were expecting. 3 weeks in a row moving the ball is a really good point too. It's just we're doing it. This is what we were expecting out of the team. Early on, and it feels like it's starting to gel a little bit. Yes, I know it's only been 2 weeks in a row that we won games. Yes, I know it was the Chargers with their Swiss cheese secondary defense, and last week, second or third string quarterback. We got bigger hills to climb, especially the next 2 weeks. But I feel like I'm feeling a lot more confident about the possibility of something cool happening, and I'm grasping onto any hope that I can for the end of the season.
Shine up those rose-colored glasses, Scott.
Yeah, I thought yours were shattered, man.
Mine are. So I need a new pair. Pay the copay and all that good stuff. But Mark, giving props to Gutekunst. We haven't heard too much of that lately, and that's fantastic to hear as well.
Right?
Yeah. It's funny how when things do start gelling, it all starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, that's for sure.
So, Mark, very much appreciate getting your call and the kind words for Scott and Wayne. It's great stuff.
I was all ready to call you, and then I remembered how good my voice sounds when I pre-record it. So this is Megan. It's about, a half an hour post-game. And That was a good game. That was, okay, as Matt LaFleur would say, that was a 4-quarter battle. And I felt like we saw offense, we saw defense, we saw special teams, we saw some penalties and mistakes, we saw too many injuries for my liking. But in general, that was a good game. That was like tooth and nail, start to finish, exciting to watch. Props to Jordan Love. Let's just give him credit where it's due. I mean, he played a great game. Like, over 300 yards is amazing. It's really great to hear that again. It's been a few years from our quarterbacks, and I'm happy that it was him. I really hope he's proud of himself, as he should be. Let's see, what else do I want to say? I thought the guys up front did good. Preston, Rashawn, Kenny Clark just sealing it at the end was kind of the icing on the cake. That last drive by the Chargers was really sad, but kind of glorious for a Packer fan. What else? I hope Jonesy isn't hurt too bad. Although, as much as I absolutely adore him, I feel like we have shown that we have alternative guys because he's been hurt quite a bit. I thought AJ ran the ball really well with a lot of power, and let's hear it for Jaden Reed. He is fast, and he is fun to watch, and I could see us using him in both like the receiver and the running role for the rest of the season. A lot of our rookies just really had a good game. I am kind of wanting to say that we had 4 touchdowns, one to different, like each to different people. I guess Jaden Reed's was a run, and that was quite a run. I know I said that, but geez, he's fast. Like, it almost seemed like he was on like speed mode. Like, they had sped up the video. He was running so fast. And each time he had the ball. Also, speaking of fast, Musgraves is fast for like a big guy. So the touchdown to Watson was kind of critical, and I thought that was really cool and good for him. I kind of had a feeling he'd have a bigger game, just considering that I feel like he does have something to prove at this point, but I'm glad he got one. I'm glad Dobbs got one, and I feel like Tucker Kraft got a half a touchdown. We'll just give him that. That was really awesome by him. It sucked that he was out of bounds, but it was still really good. And I was like, it has been really fun to watch them Lambeau leaping today. I feel like they have not been doing that much this year. Like, not just for the fact that they haven't been getting as many touchdowns, but they just haven't been Lambeau leaping. And so that was really fun to see. I was thinking about Captain Pack Sparrow and the whole crew and thinking, like, what a game to be at. I bet it was just electric there. It looked like an absolutely gorgeous day and pretty much the perfect day for a Packer win. So let's keep this ball rolling. I know we have a short week. We're going to Detroit. They're coming off a win, and, you know, division rivals, we haven't historically lately played the best against Detroit. So it's time to change that. And I hope that they can use this momentum and keep moving forward. I have PTO for Thanksgiving, not because of the holiday, but because of the Packer game. So I will be watching it with some turkey. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Go Pack, go!
Go Pack, go indeed, Megan. She has the PTO, Packers time off. That is a beautiful thing. And you're sounding loud and clear. I can almost hear the sourdough bread baking in the background. It's so good. Before we get to the rest of your comments, Megan did call back with a quick PS.
A last minute thought. Can we bring Mason back? Just wondering.
Solid question. We do miss Mason. Anders, I think, is going to get this all worked out, but so good to hear from you. Jaden Reed. See, I told you, Scott, he is fast.
Yeah.
And the Lambeau Leaps, is so good to see him. They just bring more of that party atmosphere. And it sounded like the person in charge of playing all the PA announcements, they were playing the dun, 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 go Pack, go, a lot more than I've heard at some of the home games lately. And it's just all bringing the fun back. And Megan said that Chargers final drive was kind of sad to watch.
Yeah, sad for them, but I'll take it.
Yes, for them.
You're right though about the energy at the field. I mean, I obviously haven't been to a game since last year, so I can't really speak to the energy being there this week versus the previous home games this year. But it is just so much fun being amongst Packer fans. Everyone is just awesome, and I made it a point just because I want to be a part of Lambeau Field being known as a welcoming place for Packer fans. Anytime I saw a Chargers fan, I'd go up and pat him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, welcome to Lambeau, man. I'm Scott. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out." You know what I mean? Because I don't want. I've been to other stadiums where people are just complete jerks to the opposing team, and at the end of the day, it's football. It's I would do the same thing to Bears fans if they were there, or Lions fans, or Vikings fans. Like, it is. Football is supposed to be something fun, not a reason for us to all get heated and angry with one another. So, the other thing I wanted to say about Megan's voicemail was that Tucker Kraft, she referred to it as a half a touchdown. That was on the opposite end of the field when I saw it, so I didn't get to see a really good look until I watched the recap. But holy cow, he came so close. He was so close. You could tell he was doing those ballerina moves and just tried and tried. But kudos to him for keeping it going. I'm it wound up going in our favor at the end of the drive anyway, so I'm not upset about it. But man, it would have been really cool to see, yet another player score. You know what I mean? It's just been spread all over the place. The fact that our stats are so low in terms of each player getting this many carries or this many rushes or whatever, it's because we're going all over the place instead of going to a go-to guy like we've done in the past, and I just like it much better that way.
Yeah, and it was fun watching the game as well because, they had to do the instant replay and look at it a few times and then determine that he was out of bounds and the touchdown didn't count. But Mark Sanchez and the other guy calling the game, they talked about it quite a bit, and it was just funny because I think it was Mark Sanchez that was saying, well, it's not really a touchdown, but he did get to do a Lambeau leap, and there's photos and videos of it, so yeah. I say we go with it.
Yeah, right.
He still has those photos. You can't take them away and erase them.
Well, hey, and it's something for the fans, right? The fans, it got them pumped up into it, and even if they didn't get the score, they still got to hold a Packer player. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, see, that's a thing. That's a thing for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Captain Pack Sparrow, he sent us a message. Let's see how he survived the game yesterday.
Go, 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 go. As you can hear, my voice is done. Dunskies. But my God, this day was amazing. I wouldn't trade it in for anything. Got to meet Scott again after the game, or actually at halftime. I went down and found him. And after the game, we got to go to Stadium View and have a drink and share some cheese curds. Whoa, the fried cheese curds and a victory. Oh, man. I'm currently at a Quick Trip waiting on a pizza to be cooked and delivered. That was a good game to watch. It was fun. There wasn't a lot of penalties. I'm going to dig into the box score here in a little bit. I'm sure after I get back to the hotel room. But I just had to get some of that raw reaction. And so you can hear how my voice is absolutely Dunskies. Love the PFP. Love you, Wayne. Love you, Scott. And everybody else that participates. And wish we could have met up with more of the PFP fan members, but it is what it is. When you have 80,000 people trying to meet up, it's really hard to connect. Anyways, latest.
Okay, I don't think I'm going to be sounding as good as Megan 2.0, but finally, the USS Lambeau has finally moored back at home in Indiana. Good to be home, and great to have a victory Monday. And again, after looking at the box scores again, boy, was I wrong. We still had a little too many penalties. I think it was like 7. But Jordan Love had himself a game, and so did a lot of our players, unfortunately. And when I say had a game, they had a not so great game in terms of injuries. I just looked at the current injury report they released today. I think I counted 12 players. Now, there was no practice today, but they still released an injury report as it pertains to if they had a practice, this is what the practice group would have looked like. And there was 12 people on there. And we already know, I think, Aaron Jones looks like he's out, but he, for the foreseeable future, fortunately, he avoided any major injuries. But we're down to one running back, A.J. Dillon, because of the other injuries that they sustained yesterday. Anyways, I got some unpacking to do. Again, loved meeting up with you, Scott, and your wife. That was so much fun. And sorry we didn't get to meet up with anybody else, but that's how it goes sometimes. Like you said, or like I said earlier, when there's 80,000 people in the stands trying to, find the needle in the haystack, it's not the easiest thing to do. Anyways, I will catch you guys later. And go, Pack, go!
Go Pack, go indeed, Dan. Thank you so much. And it was awesome to be able to hang out with you again. Wait, I got to tell you, it's hilarious trying to carry on a conversation with Dan inside the stadium or outside the stadium for that matter. We can't go 5 minutes without somebody asking to take a picture with him.
Nice.
In his getup. It is the real deal. I think he's starting to get recognized. Like people are, he's one of those fans that comes to games with the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, hey, there's Pack Sparrow." But dude, it's not exaggerating. Every 5 minutes, someone's coming up. It was kind of crazy. So,
well, he was on TV last year. We saw him at the game, and were able to freeze frame it and see him there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't wear anything outlandish. I just had my hoodie and my jersey over the hoodie, and Packers baseball cap on top of that. So. I did get some stuff, some gear. Like we went to like a local Walmart while we were up there, and they had some Packers stuff. Wound up getting some Packer slippers, I think, or something like that. And since it's the off season, I was able to get some Brewers gear as well. I'm a Brewers fan for baseball. They had baseball caps for $3 on clearance. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get some of those. So, it was great to meet up with him and with Dan and his wife. It was a bummer we didn't get to meet up with anybody else, but it's probably my fault for not coordinating it better. We only had about an hour once we parked to kind of, chill in the parking lot and get some libations inside us before we had to walk into the game. And then, the mad scramble to get out and everything like that was kind of nuts. And I don't know how, if he drove home that night, I thought he was saying he was staying in Green Bay, but he had to have stayed in Green Bay last night. I think he said he had a hotel, but we drove home that night and we didn't get home till like 9. So, and my poor wife had to work today. I didn't, and I'm still just exhausted. My voice is not as bad as Dan's though. So, he probably screamed through the entire game, but Dan, thanks for the voicemail. It was awesome to see you. Hopefully the injuries, hopefully that's not all bad news. Hopefully it's just a precaution, but we're going to see on Thursday. It's a short week too. That's what sucks.
Yes.
It's a short week for Detroit too, but what are you going to do?
And they were losing to the Bears most of that game. So
you had one job, guys. Like, weren't they down by like 11 points or something with like
12, I think. Yeah.
You could not pull that off, guys. Seriously. Oh, anyway.
Now, Dan brought up an interesting point. He said there was an injury report, even though there wasn't a practice today. So I guess they just kind of estimated that 12 players would have been on it. Don't think I've seen that in a long time. And I totally understand Dan wanting to meet up with more of the PFP community, but it's hard to find people in a crowd that big. I've run into that before as well, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, and it's unfortunate. But
where are you? I'm the one wearing green and gold. That
sounds about right.
Also, I had to record a video with Dan while I was there doing his famous, now famous "Go Go Go Go" chant. Wayne, do you have that handy so everybody can hear it?
Oh, absolutely. And I noticed that it was posted in our Facebook community just a little while ago at packerscommunity.com. But Here is the audio. You guys are in sync for a little bit. It's a beautiful harmony for a couple seconds.
I know, right?
Check this out. After the game, right?
Yeah, after the game.
Go, 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 hey, go!
Love it.
This was so much fun. I had a couple beers, just a couple. But it was so much fun to be able to do that with him. All right, let's go ahead and move on to email. First one says, "Hey Wayne and Scott, this is CCR from Green Bay, Wisconsin. What a game we had against the Chargers. Great plays in this game, especially with Jaden Reed with a touchdown, as well as Christian Watson with a touchdown and Romeo Doubs with a touchdown. A few things we must continue to work on is our running and passing defense. It seems that the Packers are letting so many players getting a bunch of yards. We have to stop them. Another thing that we must do is make our PAT and making field goals, but it was still a great win. No matter what, go Pack Go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold." Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher. Thank you so much, guys. Do appreciate the email. And Caleb, I'm so sorry we did not get a chance to meet up. We tried to get there a little bit earlier. I think he said he had to work, but then he didn't have to work, and it was just going to be too crazy to try to coordinate. So one of these times, man, we're gonna be able to meet you in person. We just got to make it happen somehow. So, but thanks for the email, dude.
Indeed. Now it's time for our weekly poll question. We posted in the Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com and on Twitter, X, where you can find us at Packers Fan Pod. And with this week being Thanksgiving here in America, want to know, what about the 2023 Packers are you most thankful for? Are you thankful that they never give up? Are you mostly thankful that you're seeing growth? Or are you mostly thankful that they're fun to watch at times? How about you, Scott?
The easy answer is seeing growth. I think both of us were a little bit optimistic about the Packers going into this season, with a new captain, or as it were. I think we thought that it was going to go a lot more in our favor, but I'm glad to see that they are getting better and they are improving. And imagine what this team could do with some years of experience behind them. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes in the coming years. I'm not that we're down and out for this season by any stretch of the imagination, but I love seeing the growth. How about you?
For me, I think it's that they never give up. They never look dejected. They're always fighting, always clawing, trying to get back into the game, and doing it with a bit of swagger and confidence, even when it doesn't work out. But the votes that came in, when you combine Twitter and Facebook, 80% overwhelmingly selected seeing growth. And then 11% voted for fun to watch at times, and 9% are with me with the never giving up.
I'd probably say the fun to watch is like a real close second, because this was a fun game to watch, and not just because we won, but it was up and down. There was no clear winner,
right?
Up until that final quarter, and even that final drive. I mean, it seemed like it was going to go in our favor because they had a long way to march up the field. But I love back and forth games. It's just always so much fun when it's not just I like lopsided victories when they're in our favor for sure.
Right.
We did have some comments on the poll in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group. First off, Brett Connor in England said, "I did say that we were in for a roller coaster season. Hopefully a good confidence boost that we need. Go Pack Go." Also, Dictus in the Netherlands says, "Growth. This whole season is about growth and getting rid of Joe Barry, because let's be realistic, lots of positives tonight." 22-17 over here, but it is the Chargers drops that make this a W. That's actually kind of a solid point. There were some key drops. They were looking like us last week.
Exactly. Isn't that weird that the script flipped totally?
Yeah, kind of crazy, but I'll take it for sure.
And Dictus added, "Hearing Lambeau roar tonight at times gave me goosebumps. I may need to go to another Lambeau pilgrimage next year." Oh, Dictus, make that happen. Yes. And in addition, some other great conversations were happening in the Facebook group unrelated to the poll question. There were a lot of insights from a few folks talking a bit more about the possibility of Joe Barry losing his defensive coordinator job and whether or not that's a good idea. Some other fun stuff related to that. Dan Dyler and you both posted some fun photos and the video clip from your day out at Lambeau Field. So good to see.
Absolutely. Excellent conversations are ongoing in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group right now. Check them all out and join in, especially for our live game chat section. Although I wasn't a part of it this week because I was a little busy, man. But
understandable. Yeah, without you and Dan Dyler and some of the others that were at the game, it's just the way that goes. But I don't know of anybody going to the game in Detroit. So early Thanksgiving morning, let's log into Facebook, join the chat, and talk about that game. And we are now going to preview that game because your 4 and 6 Green Bay Packers are taking their planes, trains, and or automobiles for a Thanksgiving game in Detroit, playing the 8 and 2 Lions. Holy smokes, 8 and 2 Lions. Thursday, November 23rd. This one, because they want to make sure the two big Thanksgiving games don't overlap, it starts a half hour early at 11:30 a.m. Central Time. Packers lead this series big time. 105 wins to 76 losses and 7 ties. And Houston, Detroit, we have a problem. The Lions have somehow beaten us the last 4 games in a row. And this, Scott, cannot stand. Let's bring normalcy back to this rivalry on Thursday.
Absolutely, man. I think it's important to point out, though, too, as much as I don't want to cheer for the Lions and I want them to lose, this is the first time that the Lions have been 8 and 2 since 1962. Just to put that in perspective, I think JFK was president. I think Bob Dylan was going on his first tour.
Most people were watching the game in black and white on TV, maybe even black and white at the game. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's how long it's been since they started the season 8 and 2. So,
whoa,
I want it to be us, but it's hard not to be like a little happy that those guys are finally getting their day in the sun a little bit, even though it's rough because they're in the same division. So. As
long as it's not the Bears or the Vikings.
Yeah,
right. The Packers first played the then Portsmouth Spartans on November 2nd, 1930, a few years before they became the Lions, and long before Detroit became a staple for Thanksgiving football games here in the U.S. In that first game against them, we won 47-13. Probably won't happen this week, but I'm all for it. And talk about tradition. The Lions and Packers have met at least twice a season every single year since 1932 without any canceled games, making this the longest continuous running rivalry in the NFL. So take that, Chicago Bears. Take that. And someday I definitely need to attend one of these great rivalry games at Lambeau Field. Scott, have you ever been to a Packers-Lions game?
I have not been to the Lions. No, I've been to both Bears games at Lambeau and Soldier, and I've been to a Vikings game. I've talked about it in the past at County Stadium. That's how long ago that's been since I saw that. A game again, another rivalry game like that. But it's definitely fun. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully the fans make it a better time for sure. But wow, yeah, this is quite a rivalry. How do you feel about a game being on Black Friday this year for the first time ever?
I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see that we have a game on that day because many of us, at least here in the States, are going to be off on Friday if we're not out at the malls shopping, which, of course, we all mostly just go to Amazon and take care of that kind of business, right? Or fanatics.com, buy some Packers gear. And I just hope that they don't do some weird gimmicks like for a few years they were doing all the color rush Thursday night games. I hope because this is a Black Friday game, they're not going to have one team wearing all black and the other team wearing all white, and it's going to just look crazy. Or maybe they're going to broadcast the game in black and white.
In black and white.
I don't know, but I am going to tune in and watch some of the game for sure. How about you? What are you thinking?
I do a movie marathon every Black Friday with some friends. We get together and we watch an entire series of a movie. Like one year we did Harry Potter. One year we did Star Wars. One year we did Fast and the Furious.
Oh my gosh.
Lord of the Rings. We just, and this year we decided we're taking a different approach. We're all going to pitch in our favorite Tom Hanks movies. We're going to watch nothing but Tom Hanks movies all day on Black Friday.
Okay.
I will not be watching football because that's the time I sit and watch movies, and I make my Christmas gifts for my students. I make them an ornament, and I make them a little candy treat that I put together. So, and yes, that takes all day, believe it or not. So, but back to the Detroit game, I do have some keys to a Packers victory over the Lions. First one is going to be control turnovers. I mentioned earlier that it had been since week 2 since the Packers had a game without losing the ball, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they scored the most points this week, more points this week than that they have since week 2. Just really don't think that's a coincidence. And the Green and Gold need a repeat of hanging on to the ball if they're going to finish the game with the most points. That means 2 hands on the ball when running or receiving the ball. That said, the reason the Lions almost lost to the Bears, and let's face it, they should have lost that game, was in part because of Goff's 3 interceptions. If the secondary can make a repeat happen, good things are bound to happen for the Green and Gold. Strategy number 2 is going to be pass. Again, I know. I've been preaching that we are a running team officially, but much like last week, this time around, the Packers have to win this one through the air. Even if we didn't have our number 1 running back and his backup, both probably down for the count on Thanksgiving, the Lions are in the top 5% of teams defending against the run. If Love has another accurate game with 300-plus yards, there's no reason we can't end up with a W again. So I sound like a hypocrite once again with pass the ball. It's going to be the name of the game. And lastly, power through the injuries. As Wayne talked about already, the injuries are plaguing the Packers once again. And as much as this sucks, there's a silver lining there because the Pack is already a very young team, and the backups are even younger. So with that said, they haven't lost a game by more than 4 points in their last 4 losses. Those games could have been won with a really young team. So they've proven that they have the ability with a bit more consistency, which we saw in this week's game. If the offense can play up to par, there's definitely a chance that this can happen. So don't let the injuries frighten you. You've got some solid players, some solid core players, and you've proven that you can do it with young talent. So just do it again, and all will be well.
Wild. We are officially a running team. No, wait. Let's start passing the ball again. But
when our star running back keeps getting hurt, it's hard to call us a running team again. But
true. But I did see just right before we started to record that the Packers signed again Patrick Taylor back with the team again because we need somebody. We can't just send A.J. Dillon out there and expect him to be the whole running team. So Patrick Taylor back again.
There you go. All right, so let's go on to our 2023 season wager o' fun. Here were Wayne and my predictions for last week. I predicted a Packers win 21-20. My total differential was 2. That's right. I got the Charger score exactly right. Very, very happy about that. Only missed the Green Bay score by 2 points. Wayne also predicted a win. He said Green Bay was going to win 20-18, which was actually a total differential of 5. So that means Scott Clark has reigned victorious once again.
Wow.
And very, very excited about that.
I am more than happy that you have the victory this week, not only because we won the game and it was great, but the fact that you actually got the point by picking a Packers victory and not just riding on the back of a loss. So that's good. Congratulations. I will accept that.
There you go. As far as the Packers Fan Podcast listeners, Brett Connor had a differential of 2. Ben Rabine had a differential of 5. And Jay Walters had a differential of just 1 point. He said Green Bay 24, Chargers 20.
Wow.
So he is the listener winner this week. Man, 1 point off. Well done. So that puts him in contention. So our first place, it's a 2-way tie between David Newman and Dan Dyler. They each have 3 wins each. And then Brett Connor and now Jay Walters are both tied for second place with 1 win each. As far as Wayne and I am winning by a score of 5-2, Mr. Henderson.
Goodness. That's
5-2.
Well, everybody loves a good rally comeback. I'm going to put my rally hat on and you just watch the rest of the season play out.
Yeah. Well, Wayne, I'm sorry to say I am not going to predict a Packers win this week. I know you don't want to hear that.
You're right.
Tell
me why. What's going on?
We're playing the Lions in Detroit on Thanksgiving. We haven't won against them for the past 4 games. And our injuries are just astounding. These last 2 games that we won were teams that were not nearly as good as Detroit, or as good as Detroit. And I really feel like the Lions are on a mission this season, and they would love nothing more than to give us a trouncing, as it were. So I'm sorry, man, but I think there's too much stacked against us. I'm going to say Detroit 27, Green Bay 17.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm thinking is if the Bears can get 3 interceptions from Jared Goff and almost win the game, we surely should be able to get 4 interceptions and win the game, or some sort of turnovers. We're going to win the game. It's going to be almost just like this week's game. We're going to win 21-20.
Interesting. Okay. Well, stay tuned for next week to see if that gap gets wider or narrower, because definitely somebody's going to win next week, right?
I hope.
Yeah.
It ends in a tie. Crazy.
Oh man, if any of us ever calls a tie and it actually winds up being a tie,
they
that
win the
person
season.
just wins the season. Like, just automatic. It's like my double down, triple shock, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but I'm not going to do that. But let's see what the listeners suggested for the final score of the game here. David Newman also predicts a Detroit win 28-24. Jay Walters is with you, says Green Bay is going to win 26-24. Garrett Stritchell actually has the exact same score as you, 21-20 in favor of Green Bay.
All right, Garrett.
And Brett Connor is a little bit more with me. He's actually even less optimistic. He says Detroit 27, Green Bay 14.
Ooh,
so we will have to see who reigns victorious next week.
Well, some of the NFC North was victorious this week. The Lions did hold on and win. They're 8-2 till we play them, at least. We'll see. The Vikings are 6-5. They're within reach. The Packers are 4-6. And the Bears somehow have made it all the way to 3-8.
Oh, boy. I came really close to texting my Bears friends and being like, really? You guys couldn't finish that game off? We really needed that. At some point, it feels like they're doing it to spite Green Bay at this point, because they know we needed the Detroit loss. Did you see the article on NFL.com? They had a little deal that said, about what each team should be thankful for. And so, of course, I scrolled down to see what they said about the Packers. And they said what you said in our little poll there, is that the Packers should be thankful that Jordan Love is improving. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So, check out that article. It was pretty interesting.
Did they have anything for the Panthers and Bears to be thankful for?
I didn't read the entire thing. I was in a hurry. I just kind of read the Packers one. But, if anybody out there, I know we've got somebody we got some Eagles fans listeners, I know. We've got some people that have an AFC team as well, something like that. So go check on that article. It's actually pretty fun to read. So,
well, Scott, let's take a far too early and far too optimistic look at the NFC playoff picture, shall we?
Okay.
All hope is not lost. We are improving. And although we would not be in the playoffs if it were to start today, we are in the number 8 spot, because the NFC has a lot of teams having a lot of troubles. We are in the number 8 spot, Scott. We're just right behind Seattle and Minnesota to make it into the playoffs.
That's kind of nuts, man.
What if?
Are there really 3 wild cards? I thought, what happened to that? I thought that there's only 1 wild card now, I thought. Did they change it again?
You can't keep track. They just want almost everybody in the playoffs. And as long as one of those teams is the Packers, it's all good. But the only teams right behind us, kind of tied with us, but strength of schedule or something, we're ahead. The Rams also 4-6, Atlanta 4-6, Tampa Bay. But we are looking in, and if the Vikings can choke a little, or the Seattle choke a little, and we keep winning, we could be a wild card playoff team. I know it's early. It's early, but it's also fair to say that this week is a must-win scenario. If we don't win this week, it's going to be so difficult. You're going to start talking about running the table to even have a chance. We're going to need to run the table and get some help. So this is a must-win week. Happy Thanksgiving and happy Christmas season to us, because starting Friday,
we can actually listen to Christmas music and put up the Christmas lights and all that, but not before.
You do you, Scott.
8th place. All right. I want to tell everybody about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider. We do release a new episode every week, and this week was no different. This Wednesday, we're releasing the latest, but I will let you know I was not there for this episode because I had a football game to attend. Still, my co-host had a great conversation without me where they discussed the proper amount of time you should give before talking about plot spoilers in video games. We also interviewed a developer of a video game. I highly recommend checking it out. You can hear that show, The Gaming Outsider, at the same place that you listen to this show. And you can also find our website at thegamingoutsider.com.
All right. And this Saturday, get ready for the first episode of the long-awaited Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. David Tennant returns. This time is the 14th, so to speak, edition of the Doctor. It's also brilliant to be getting the return of Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. They are a perfect pair on this show. It's hilarious. Adventure will ensue. And I haven't been this excited for a new episode of Doctor Who for 5 or 6 years. Of course, it's been a little over a year since the last new episode, but super excited. So join my co-host Jada Wilkerson and I on our Don't Blink podcast as we review all the goodness of the episode, including some listener feedback as well, because as you know, I like listener feedback. Just go to don'tblinkpodcast.com.
Thanks for giving back to your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon. We really do appreciate it. Details for becoming a patron and other ways to support the Packers Fan Podcast are all at packersfanpodcast.com/give back. Go Pack Go, Mr. Jay Walters. Thanks for supporting the PFP at the AR12 level. Sending a Go Pack Go and thank you to Dan Dyler supporting the show with love at the Jordan Love level. We really do appreciate it, man.
And Brett Favre sure made us thankful to be Packers fans, and we have Go Pack Goes, and many thanks to these Patreons supporting us at the Favre 4 level. New to the Favre-tastic group, Megan, welcome to the Patreon team. We appreciate it. Colin Nolan from Ireland, thank you. Scott Bors, thank you. Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast, thank you as well. And Go Pack Goes, and thank you to these fine Curly Lambeau level supporters, Hank Davis from the TPE Network and Joe Christensen as well. Please check out all the details on how you can be a patron at packersfanpodcast.com/giveback. And want to remind you of the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but we would ask that you please tell your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast. And if you're feeling extra bold, come close. If you're feeling extra bold, we invite you to ask them to tell their friends as well.
Also, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at Packers Fan Pod. You can follow me at GoCastScott, and you can follow Wayne at Wayne Henderson. And here's community members Joe Christensen and Dan Dollar with their Go Pack Goes to send us out and prep us for Thanksgiving in Detroit.
Go Pack Go!
Go, 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 Pack, go!